Hold up, Thug wanna play some new shit.
Norwich 1, Manchester United 2, a tactical analysis, why Manchester United's squad is not up to scratch. In this video I will first be doing a tactical analysis of the game, and then at the end I will be discussing why I don't think United's squad is anywhere near as good as some people think, whilst also discussing the quality of individual players. So going into the game, Daniel Farke lined up his Norwich side in a 4-2-3-1 with Tim Krul in goal, Ben Godfrey and Tim Close at the centre backs, Max Aarons and Jamal Lewis at full back, with a midfield double pivot of Kenny McLean and Alexander Tete, with Lucas Rupp ahead of them. Buendia started on the right of midfield, Todd Cantwell on the left and Timu Pukki up front. Solskjaer used a 4-2-3-1 with Romero in goal, Bailly and Maguire at centre back, Dalot at right back, Shaw at left back, Fred and McTominay in central midfield with Bruno Fernandes ahead of them, Lingard starting from the left, Mata on the right and Odion and Ighalo starting up front. But before I get into the analysis, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming videos. And after this, check out some of my other videos on Manchester United, as well as my videos on other clubs as well. All those videos will be linked in the description below. Norwich, unlike most sides towards the bottom end of the Premier League, sought to use an aggressive pressing style against United, rather than sitting deep and allowing United to come onto them. They used a man-to-man pressing system with Pukki pressurising the centre-backs, Cantwell and Buendia retaining higher positions, Rupp moving on to Fred and McLean pushing up from the midfield line to press McTominay, making it incredibly hard for United to work the ball out of their defensive third, and this was seen as early on Norwich's pressure forced United into a few inaccurate passes, gifting Norwich the ball high up the pitch. This is a tactic that smaller sides should adopt more often against bigger sides, rather than taking the Sean Dyche, Dean Smith route of sitting deep in a structured system and inviting a side onto them into their half, as this usually pens your side in, making it hard for you to sustain attacks and allows the opposition side to sustain periods of pressure on you. When United were able to work the ball through their defensive third, Norwich would drop into a 4-5-1 shape, looking to be compact and stop the ball advancing through the centre of the pitch, with Pukki cutting off the passing lane into Fred and the central midfielders being positionally aware of the United attackers moving in behind them. This left space on the flanks for United to exploit, and this was something Solskjaer expected, as he instructed the two fullbacks, Dalot and Shaw, to advance high up the flank to work as outlets for the side, with Lingard and Mata, the two wide midfielders, moving infield into narrow positions, looking to pick up the ball in the half spaces. Solskjaer did make a slight tactical change to his possession system, as when Bruno Fernandes dropped deep into the midfield to pick up the ball, McTominay would push up the field into the half spaces. Whilst this did compensate for Pogba's absence, as Fernandes was able to move the ball into the final third a lot better than McTominay and Fred were able to, with his long and incisive passes. This did mean that United didn't have Fernandes' presence higher up the pitch, between the lines of the opposition's system. And when in the second half we saw Fernandes in these positions more often, we can see the impact he made, but I'll get onto that later on in the video. I was expecting Dalot to thrive in this sort of situation, being given the licence to push forward, which suits his style. However, his dribbling was mediocre and I can't recall him putting in any dangerous crosses, and in all honesty didn't offer much more offensively than Wan-Bissaka would have. Shaw on the other side, while having a few bits of interplay down the left channel, didn't provide an attacking output in terms of advancing the attack into the final third through his dribbles or creating chances with his crosses. As much as people think that United don't need to be looking for an improvement in the left back area in the next transfer window, this game perfectly exemplified why United need to be looking for an offensive upgrade, as their attack should have been flowing down the flanks due to Norwich's narrow system. However, instead it was slow and lethargic and allowed Norwich to shift across and close down the spaces when the ball was switched. And you can check out my video looking at Theo Hernandez as a Shaw upgrade, and my recent video looking at a cheaper alternative, Pervis Estupinan, which will both be linked in the description. Out of possession, Solskjaer looked to implement a high pressing style, with the side pressing in a 4-2-4 shape as Fernandes pushed up alongside Ighalo to press the centre backs, while simultaneously also cutting off the passing lanes to the Norwich midfield double pivot. However, United's press wasn't as effective as it was in the Sheffield United and Tottenham games, and this was because the front four pushed high up the field, but Fred and McTominay retained deeper positions, which was due to the positioning of Norwich's wide players, Emi Buendia and Todd Cantwell. See, unlike conventional wide players, Buendia and Cantwell play as wide playmakers, moving inside into the half spaces, rather than providing width, which also sees the three central midfielders of Norwich sit deeper in midfield. This meant that McTominay and Fred did not want to push up too high, as they would have left Buendia and Cantwell with massive amounts of space, which in turn left a big gap between United's first and second pressing lines. Norwich were therefore able to work the ball through the press, and as you can see here, they were easily able to play the ball from the fullbacks into the central midfielders because of McTominay and Fred's deeper positions. But United's main issue came from their lack of creativity. We've known about the lack of creativity from deep areas, as it's been a major issue throughout the season, with Fred and certainly McTominay not having the ability to play those incisive passes into players between the lines of the opposition, and instead looking to play easy passes sideways and backwards, which slow down the attack. Pogba and Matic showed against Sheffield United that they are far better at moving the ball forward into the final third with these passes, and you can see my full analysis of that game after this video by clicking the video link in the description below. But even when United were able to get the ball into the final third, only Bruno Fernandes provided any sort of creativity, with Mata and Lingard once again showing why they shouldn't be anywhere near the United starting 11. Every time Mata receives the ball on the right side, he seems to take an age to make a pass and almost waits for the opposition to close up the passing lane into the players in the half spaces before then picking an easy pass out wide. Lingard really offers nothing to the side apart from the occasional dribble around the box, but doesn't have the vision, decision making or passing ability of a decent Premier League level attacking midfielder, so with both of these players playing in the three behind the main centre forward, United's ability to create chances is heavily stifled. Going into the second half, it was interesting to see how long Solskjaer would give it before making changes, but within the first 5 minutes, Ighalo made the breakthrough after a cross from Shaw ricocheted up into the air, from where Ighalo flicked the ball with composure beyond Tim Krul, showcasing his poacher-like ability. From then on, you would have thought United would have took advantage of their dominance, with Norwich's press no longer as aggressive. However, United failed to do this, particularly from the flanks. Lingard had massive amounts of space wide on the left flank, but anytime the ball went out to him, he seemed to lethargically dribble with the ball as though it was the end of the game, and he was waiting for the Norwich system to shuffle over and close down the space. Max Aaron showcased how poor United were in the wide areas, as he was able to take on Luke Shaw and whip in a dangerous cross, which was far more threatening than anything United had created from the flanks up until then, as even the goal came from a mediocre cross from the left, flicking up nicely into Ighalo's path. When Solskjaer made changes, energy was instantly injected into the United attack, with Rashford and Greenwood providing much greater threats from the flanks. However, Norwich did show the benefits of using wide playmakers who, rather than providing width, move inside into the half spaces. The equaliser came from Cantwell taking up a narrow position wide of United's midfield double pivot when the ball was on the opposite side, and when the ball was played over to him, he was in a perfect position to release a swerving shot into the bottom corner past Romero. This example later on shows Buendia also in this sort of position when he's able to receive the ball and feed a perfectly weighted through ball through to meet the run of Fernandes in behind the back line, who is only denied a one-on-one due to Brandon Williams' excellent tracking and recovery sliding tackle. When Pogba and Matic were brought on into the midfield, that's when United looked a lot better in attack, being able to move the ball into the final third more often, which was seen from the red card incident. Eric Bailly is actually the player to play the incisive pass into Bruno Fernandes between the lines, who, as he did so often against Sheffield United, performs his trademark first-time flick around the corner to put Ighalo clean through before he's taken down by Tim Closer, and a Norwich man receives a straight red. From then on, United were firmly in control of the game as it went into extra time, with Rashford and Pogba combining on the left, with Pogba making an underlapping run and Rashford finding him with a pass inside, which showed Pogba's creative potential when given the freedom to run beyond the forward line. However, throughout the extra time period, it seemed like United were overplaying, maybe lacking the decisiveness in the final third against Norwich's deep 4-4-1 system as they blockaded themselves in their own half. Maguire's late goal bailed out United and saved them from having to go to a penalty shootout against one of the best penalty saving goalkeepers in Europe. But despite the result in the end, this game exhibited just how poor United's squad is. Most people, when judging how good a particular squad is, will only analyse as far as the starting 11. However, a side isn't just a starting 11 players, there needs to be quality in depth as well. United's starting 11, whilst not being at full strength by any means, wasn't exactly the reserve side. Mata and Lingard are the types of players who will start for United if there is an absentee, or at least be coming off the bench. However, they are nowhere near top 4 level quality, and I'd even go as far to say they struggled to get into the likes of Aston Villa's starting 11, with the likes of El Ghazi, John McGinn and Jack Grealish all being a lot more impressive than those two. Ighalo, whilst being a decent poacher, is really just that and lacks the interplay outside of the box to lead United's line for any period of time. Even McTominay, who's been a main starter for United, doesn't really offer much on the ball, and at the age of 23 doesn't even look good enough to be a backup central midfielder for a title contender. Daniel James and Andreas Pereira are two other players who would struggle to make it into a bottom end Premier League side, and these players are both players who have played significant amount of minutes for United this season. Compare this to Manchester City, who have the likes of Sané, Gabriel Jesus, David Silva and Phil Foden to come into these positions, and even Chelsea next year will have Ziyech, Hudson-Odoi, Christian Pulisic and Willian vying for those positions. And looking at it like that, you can see United are some way off challenging for the title. And those United fans who seem to think United only need 2 or 3 new signings have to question whether they think this is good enough for a title challenge or just for a top 4 challenge, as no matter how much people like Solskjaer, this has been the worst United season in Premier League history, with them still needing to win 5 out of the last 7 games to just equal David Moyes' points tally from 2013-2014. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and check out some of my other videos which will all be linked in the description below.